Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video, I want to respond to a student who had, I think, a pretty interesting question. They're facing a challenge with the Google Fonts plugin, and I just got this email. Let's see, it's Sunday morning. It's 11:29 a.m. my time. They sent this email 9 minutes ago. Ralph, I'm having troubles with my Google Fonts plugin. I'll download and use a Google font, and then when I start making adjustments to other aspects of my page, it resets the fonts visually, but still has my Google Fonts listed in the customization section. Any suggestions on this? I can delete them and reinstall them, and that fixes the problem temporarily, but I'm hoping you might know a long-term solution. Well, I don't know if I know a long-term solution, but I do know how to experiment. I've got two ideas I want to try. First, I'm going to try the official Google Fonts plugin, and I'm on a WordPress installation right now, which I've actually had for a couple of years, but I'm embarrassed to say I have not been maintaining it, not been updating it. It's ralphphillips.com/COCC. So let me close out of here, and I'm going to head over to plugins. Now, I did make a rookie mistake with this. I just booted this up yesterday, because I have these couple WordPress sites which I haven't been maintaining, and I needed to update themes and plugins, and that is one of the biggest security weaknesses of WordPress and people that have WordPress sites is we don't maintain the plugins, we don't keep those updated, we don't keep those themes updated, and that is where security breaches and hackers will start to get in when they discover weak WordPress plugins. So it is a responsibility for all of us to sign into our WordPress sites regularly, even if we're not actively in a class, and make sure we hit all of the updates. Update your themes, update your plugins. If you're not using a plugin, uninstall it. If you're not using a theme, uninstall it. Obviously, you can deactivate too if you think you might come back to it. Now, you can see in this particular WordPress installation, I've got a couple plugins. I've got the Classic Editor, and I've got the Yoast SEO plugin. That is it. This is pretty bare bones, right? So I'm going to go ahead and add a new plugin, and I guess I could have just searched, and I will search for Google Fonts. It's not visible up at the front. So I'm going to search for Google Fonts. Okay, I was just browsing around a little bit. I'm going to go for this one, Easy Google Fonts. It's got one of my favorite adjectives, easy. So I'm going to go ahead and install this plugin now. I have never used this plugin, so this is a brand new experience for me here. I'm going to go ahead and activate it. Did download, didn't activate. And with many plugins, you will get a menu to interact with them. Let's see. And it says it's now active. Fantastic. So I'm looking over at my plugins. I'm going to jump over to my installed plugins menu. Oh, and okay, it's coming up with this one. All right, go to settings, easy Google Fonts. Okay. Oh, I see it right there in settings. I didn't notice that before, down at the bottom. Easy Google Fonts, down at the bottom. Okay, create a new customizer font control for your theme below. And click the Create Font Control button to save your changes. Okay, so I didn't read the directions, but that's okay. That's the way we put together IKEA furniture. It's the way we make WordPress sites. So I see that, okay, it's asking for a font control name, and I can create font control. Before I do that, I'm looking to see what others. Add your CSS selectors below. Interesting. Yeah, so this is going to require a little bit more knowledge of CSS, but that could be a good way to go. So let's see. Font control name, I'm going to do this heading experiment 1. I'm going to see if that will be acceptable as a name. Create the font control. Okay, heading experiment 1, add CSS selector. Now, what I'm going to do is in a new browser tab, I'm going to go to my website. So I'm going to go to ralphphillips.com/COCC, and here's the web page. What I want to look at. So I'm going to do a Control-Shift-I on my browser. I'm going to turn off mobile emulator, and I'm going to click the inspector button over here in the top right. I see it's Control-Shift-C, but I always click the button. Now when I hover over things, notice when I hover over like this RR Phillips at COCC, I can see, that's an anchor tag. I see that little purple A. Now if I pan out just a little bit, I see that's actually h1.site title. So the parent element for this is a heading 1, and it also has a class applied to it called site-title. Good to know, and that's actually probably a good thing to pick on. In fact, I'm just going to do a quick screen capture of this. There we go. So now you can't see that because it's on my other window there. But yeah, so h1.site title. And there's a couple ways I can manipulate that with a Google font. So I'm just going to move this off to the side as kind of a note to myself of what that was. Let's see. So I'm back over here. Enter the CSS selector. Now the CSS selector I'm going to put in is .site dash title. So if you recall, now I could have done a couple things. I could have just done h1. I could have done .site title like I did here. I could also have put in h1.site title. Any three of those should work. I guess I'll go more specific. This means a heading 1 that has class equals site title with it. All right, separate with commas or the enter key. So if I was doing multiples, I could also put in, let me also put in like h2 elements or something like that. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'll leave that on there. So now I've got h1.site title and h2. All right, I feel good about my selectors. Font control properties, force styles, optional. This will enable the important rule for new CSS. This actually is going to be pretty good. I don't want to get into what the important rule is, but it's a special keyword you can put on CSS files to make sure that your styles override any subsequent ones. I don't think it would be necessary in these particular situations, but just in case, I am going to do it. I'm going to check that, and that should help force that in. And that, I wonder, could be your classmates' issue right there. I wonder if they have the option to force a CSS rule is important. Okay, got that. Media query settings, I'm not going to mess with any of those. I'm going to save my font control. But yeah, so I went over to manage with live preview up at the top, and that brings me back to my theme template. Let me actually back this out one level. So this is my main theme settings here called Ascender magazine. I'm not using the pro version. I go into typography and I look at theme typography and look at this. I've got heading experiment 1 as a choice. So now I can click on this drop down. Here's what I've been looking for. So now I can put in my font family here, and I'm going to put something just what I think will be super obvious. Now these are all fonts and I don't know what they look like. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to give me a preview here, but black and white picture, certainly that should stand out to me, right? So I choose that font, I click publish, I think my site has changed, I go back to my website, refresh. Okay, my font up here has definitely changed, but it's not nearly as dramatic as I was hoping. So let me head back here and let me find something better. That's the font family. And Century Gothic. Not terribly exciting, but Century Gothic has a more rounded look to it. So I'm going to choose Century Gothic. And I'll choose all the defaults there. That's fine. I'm going to hit publish. Go back to my website online. Refresh. I'm getting changes. It's just not really noticing those particular changes. Let me find something that really stands out to me. Okay, I'm still doing some exploring. I'm trying something new here that I wanted to show you. I'm adding a new CSS selector, which I'm going to see if this helps. I'm doing .site-title space A, and that's because inside of my heading 1, there is a hyperlink, an anchor element, and I'm now wondering if the anchor element style is overriding my heading style. So I'm thinking this might do the trick. So I'm going to go ahead and save that, but I'm still going to jump over and test and see if it works. Okay, so that one did seem to work. I just picked a font. Which one did I pick? I picked ABZ, and I know it doesn't seem terribly dramatic to you, but I can tell for distinctly different. The lowercase p in my name, let me turn off that emulator. The lowercase p in my name definitely is different. It's got that little flange on the letter P. So that seemed to take effect. Let me jump back over here and just pick another font. And I'm going to get something which sounds like it might be more interesting. By Jam Jury. I'm going to click that one. I'm going to click publish. I'm going to head back to my website and refresh. There we go. And that font has actually it's kind of neat. It's kind of like a little techie font. Things are, the O's and the C's are a little bit more squared off. The at symbols are more squared off. Actually, I think that one looks kind of cool. So I might keep that. So what do I think is your classmate's true roadblock here? Let me do this. I'm gonna go back to my easy Google Fonts menu here. I need to be down here. I think it's going to be the CSS selector. I think my issue was I started off just trying to style the heading 1. Ignore the heading 2. That's not doing anything for us. I was just trying to style the heading 1, but within the heading 1, there's an anchor tag, and I think the styles of that one were overriding it. Even though I had this 4 styles optional checked, I don't think I was able to override a separate element. So I think that was the key. But I also want to show you another technique that could be simpler, could be more complicated depending. I know about half the students in WordPress have already done some CSS work before from other classes. So I know for quite a few students, and in fact, this student may not be one of those, but they're doing some pretty interesting stuff. So let's see. I'm going to go over to Google Fonts, and I'm going to get this font right here. Now that Jersey 10's looking ugly to me now. I'm going to get this one, Jacquard 24. All right, I'm going to click on this font. This is the one I want. I'm going to click the Get Font button in the upper right corner, and then I'm going to get some embed code. And I'm going to pause here for a moment because this can be a little bit overwhelming the first time you see this stuff. Now, there are some things we would want to put into our CSS file. However, in other classes, like in CIS195, I've told students, hey, we're going to get this code right here, and we're going to put it on the HTML file. We have a couple of options that I'm not going to show you. We could take the code here that Google Fonts is giving us, and we would put it on our PHP files, maybe in the header section. There might be different files that it goes to, but that can be a little bit intimidating to edit those PHP files with some HTML code. So there's another technique we can use. I can click on the @import option, and I get this. Now you notice it's in between a set of style tags. However, I should be able to take this and put it on the actual style CSS file. So I'm going to copy that @import. I'm not getting the style tags, mind you. I'm just getting the line of code in between there. I'm just going to copy that, head back over to my page, and I'm going to go, where am I going to go? I want to go back to my appearance, customize, changes you made. Oh, you know what? Let me hit save font control. I forgot to save that. Appearance, customize, and I want to go to the additional CSS. So I'm going to find the additional CSS section. Now, it looks like I've done some CSS on here. So the CSS you see on here are things that I've played around with. And some of them I just hid. Okay. At the top of my CSS file, or my supplemental CSS, I'm going to paste. So I'm going to put that @import line right in there. That's going to be importing the Google font. And now I just need to put it into action. So I look back at Google Fonts, and now this is what I want to get right here. I really just need the font family. So I'm going to copy the font family line, Control-C to copy, back over to my CSS customizer, and I'm going to write it right down here. So I'll make sure I zoom in on this so you can see it because it's pretty tiny. And I'm going to write .site-title space A, opening set of curly braces, Control-V and Victor to paste. So 2 things that I'm doing. I'm putting the @import on my CSS, on my additional CSS right up near the top. And now I'm going to do this font family for the anchor within my .site title. Technically, it could be h1.site title. That's fine. There's no save, so I'm just going to hit publish. I'm going to go back to my web page. I'm going to hit refresh. And of course, it's not changing because I wonder if I've got to override some things. Let me get out of there. Go back to typography. Go back to theme typography. Let me reset it. Publish. I've got another idea. Refresh this. Oh, there we go. There's that font. Okay. So clearly that's the wacky font that I just applied. Now I'm going to just completely close this site and reopen it again just to see if it's, there we go, ralphphillips.cc. Okay, so I'm getting that wacky font. I'm not going to keep that for very long, but I'll leave it on there for now just to see how that's going. So let me just recap that second step, because the second step didn't involve me using a plugin at all, right? I went to fonts.google.com and I selected a font. I went over to the @import area and I grabbed the @import line right here and I pasted that into my additional CSS section. And I stuck it right up at the top. Now I stuck it at the top in case I want to reference it multiple times at other places. It's good to put that up at the top. And then I went back over to Google Fonts and I got the font family line from that Google font and I stuck that where I wanted to, just at the bottom of my CSS file, referencing the specific thing that I wanted to change. So I think that's pretty good. I think with the plugin, you're going to be fine. You just need to be careful about how you're writing the selectors, and that's going to be the tricky thing for you. So you might get a second set of eyes involved. Say, hey, Ralph, I'm really trying to figure out what selector I should use in order to change this thing. And then point me to your web page and I'll see if we can't find that together, and then you'll know what to write in there. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you very much and have fun with your Google Fonts. Bye.